Hi everyone, my name is Lavish and I'm basically working as a data scientist with a company called industry-endorsed software in Pune. Today we'll be talking mostly about what a data science life cycle is like and what are the basic components of solving a problem, which is a data science problem. So, as we have already spoken about a lot of things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning, but thing which is common to all of them, which is sort of a common ethos for all of them, is the life cycle, sort of how the problem transpires from just being a business case, a use case for people to solve, to eventually a solution in the form of predictions or in the form of basically a probability score that we can use to make those predictions. Now, a data science life cycle starts with problem definition. Now, this is the part where we sit with the stakeholders, we talk with them, we try and figure out what is it with data that we can do to solve their challenges, and it is essentially converting the problem into a form where we have a dependent variable and an independent variable, right? Of problem formulation into a mathematical form. In case of a linear regression, it would be y equals to mx plus c, like an equation of a line. Once we have done that, and with stakeholders' prior permission, we move on to the next stage, which is the data preparation. Now, please mark my words, this is a very important stage, although all the stages are very important, but this is a stage where you should be focusing really heavy because of the fact that your data will eventually train your algorithm, and if you're giving in garbage, it will eventually give out garbage. So make sure that the data that you're preparing in a data science use case is properly aligned with the problem that you're trying to solve, right? So for example, if a YouTube makes a recommender engine to recommend videos to somebody on the basis of what they have seen, it is essential for them to understand an individual from different genres that they have seen, what kind of videos do they like, what is the like and click percentages for these videos, so that they can use that as a good quality data to feed to the algorithm. The next step, which is subsequent to data preparation, is called data exploration. Data exploration, as the name suggests itself, is basically exploring the data using visualizations, using some key quantitative metrics like mean, median, mode, and eventually using them in your analysis to understand the data better, and if possible, take out some of the data which is not in line with what your analysis would be. This would essentially be outliers, or something which you see is absurd, or something that is not fitting the bill in a problem, right? So for example, if you're talking about reducing customer churn, something like a high average revenue per user might skew the results, right? So you want to see that if there are some people who are skewing the results, you want to take them out after doing some analysis and exploration on the data. Once you have done the exploration, it's the modeling phase that you get into. The modeling phase is, as the name itself says, is building the predictive model, right? So this is the part where you decide which model you're going to build. You do a lot of experimentation, you do a lot of going and doing a deep dive into the data to understand which model will suit you better, right? You look at things like bias and variance in the data. You take care of that bias and variance trade-off, and then start building an algorithm. Now mind that it's important that you do not stick to one algorithm, and try your hands on various algorithms to see what is the kind of accuracy you get there, and if it is solving the problem or not for you. The next stage is basically the model evaluation, how good your model is doing on the data that you have trained it on. Now, model evaluation, as the name suggests, comprises of evaluating the different models that you have done. It basically involves adding the training data or validation data and getting the results on those data. And even if possible, you can get some new data to see what is the kind of changes the model is bringing in, and if the prediction is staying really on the spot or not. After you have done the model evaluation and your model evaluation is a good fit, you move on to the next stage. The next stage is basically where you talk about the model deployment, which is essentially putting the model into production. And that's where most of the things count, right? I mean, it does not matter how much work you do in the presentations, but eventually how many models that get deployed onto your platforms or the company that you're working with. And this stage typically comprises of using the jar files, the Java objects, and putting them into an environment and doing this, pipelining the CI/CD, which is a common term that is used here, so that the data gets into the model. Runs the data and gives you a prediction score, which eventually can be used to figure out if your customers are churning or not, which could be used to figure out if you're targeting the right segment of people or not, which could be used to figure out if a good address is a good address or a bad address in case of a postal and addressing kind of a use case. So this is the overall life cycle of a data science problem, and it is essential that every data science project that you do goes through this life cycle, so that it eventually transpires into something which is understandable by the stakeholders as well as the people who are not from data science field. Thank you.